All right, it's recording now. Do we need to start with the prayer then as well?
We can. I mean, I don't see why not.
I just didn't know for the requirement of the meeting if we had to or not.
It doesn't say anything about starting with a prayer. It just says that we just need to meet for an hour, and then we can talk about we talk about any questions. Does anybody have any questions about the course or yeah, it says talk about questions you have about the course and use the study guide to study the week's topics. So does anybody have any questions about the course or about what we studied this week?
None for me that I can think of.
Is everyone getting through the reading okay? Because for me, the book is what? I didn't catch what you said.
No, I don't have any questions. Does anyone else have questions or about the reading or anything?
Okay.
Yeah, sorry. So for mediation, I guess, sorry, no, the difference I found on mediation arbitration is for mediation, a business would, in the process of negotiating, like two parties will hire a mediator to try to help to consensus and try to meet in the middle of a decision versus like an arbitrator will basically look at both options and you basically a judge you hire, like an in-house judge you can decide and hire to help make the decision for you. So mediator just kind of mediates the same thing and helps both parties come to a conclusion. The arbitrator, I think, just determines or makes the decision for you ultimately.
Yeah, that was the same thing that I came up with. Is like a mediator is just someone who just sits in the middle, and the only power that they have is to try to persuade the two parties that have a disagreement. Like you said, the arbitrator is to come to a decision for them, kind of like a judge in a courtroom.
Yeah, exactly. When I was, looking up other resources on it and stuff, that examples like the cool thing with like an arbitrator is to the both parties, like you can hire someone you both trust I've worked with in the past. And like I said, it's just in-house judge you both like. So not like not dependent on some random judge to make these
Oh,
decisions and stuff. You hire the person you like, and uh, to try hire someone in your favor, basically.
okay. That's kind of nice. So you can
Yeah.
have somebody decide for you that you know rather than just having some random person.
Yeah. So I mean, they'll make it as fair as possible for both parties, but like, and you can hire someone that are an arbitrator that's going to be a little more specialized to.
So can an arbitrator just be like anyone, like any person that you want to say, hey, I know you, will you be an arbitrator? Or does it have to be like a specific, like, does it have to
They
be
have,
like an attorney or somebody who's
yeah, they have to have
legally
years of.
authorized?
I think they have to like years of courtroom experience.
Oh, okay.
Actually, like a hired attorney or judge, like a judge, maybe an arbitration practice has started, or um, that business hire that you can go to their office or they can come to you and you can present both sides of the case, and then the mediator, that one is when you're having trouble coming to a consensus and everything, then they'll just be there to, like I said, help facilitate that. um, but then again, that's someone that's like an attorney or someone works on as well.
Okay.
Yeah. Actually, there is something that I read. Here's what I found. It says an arbitrator could be a retired judge, a senior lawyer, a professional such as an accountant or engineer. So I guess that when we're talking about arbitration, this person has to be a professional. He has to have experience about these topics.
Okay.
So for the actual like discussion, we need um, an example of the difference between mediation and arbitration. So did anyone have any specific examples that they came up with they used in their individual assignment?
Oh, Tyler asked a question. Actually, I had that same question.
Yeah, I think they would both require law degrees to be able to do both, from my understanding.
Okay. Well, then my example isn't necessarily correct then for a mediator.
You could have, I guess, a mediator. What I guess a prime example you'd have is maybe in the case of divorce, right? You'd have two parties, the spouses, to help come to agreements on and meet in the middle, whatever it is. They'd have to need to hire a mediator to help facilitate those conversations so they can come to decisions.
I like that example. My example was just was of two little kids fighting over something, like in the videos that we saw. Wasn't really anything different. And obviously a mediator that's not technically a mediator because mom isn't doesn't hold a law degree. So that sounds a lot better.
Yeah, that's something just whenever it comes to legal advice, I'm pretty sure like, legally you have to be licensed and have a degree or
Well, I like that example for the mediator. What does everybody else think?
Yeah, well, for mediator, okay, I have an example, but I'm not sure if my example would be quite right. But I have a few lines here. I don't know if you want me to read it for you.
Sure.
Yeah, go.
Okay, here you go. Well, I wrote, um, for example, Amazon and eBay are arguing because Amazon is the first option than eBay in the section of Google Shopping. So for that reason, Amazon was having more success as a company than eBay. Then the CEO of Google was listening to their proposition, and the CEO was trying to help them to figure out a solution. So he proposed that for this first month, eBay was going to be at the top of the Google Shopping research, and then for the other 6 months, Amazon was going to be at the top. So I don't know if that's right, but that's what I wrote.
I think it sounds good. I mean, to me, I didn't know that a mediator had to be like licensed or anything. But it would make sense to have somebody as a mediator who has experience in the field that you're talking, like the conflict has arisen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think for making the cases we're looking at, they would obviously you could have like if you're having an argument, you could have anyone come over and help mediate that conversation. But in the cases we're talking about, it's divorce, it's lawsuits. I mean, all sorts of different things, right? Arguments between eBay and Amazon and licenses, all sorts of stuff, right? So in this case, you need to have someone there to help or business partners, So I guess for arbitration example I thought of was maybe two business partners or people fighting over intellectual property rights, and they would need someone to judge there, like an arbitrator they could hire to make a decision of who actually has the intellectual property rights to an idea or something, to a business.
Mm-hmm.
That would make sense. My example was just with the judge again. So, I mean, like, I kind of like the idea of being able to include, for an arbitrator, that somebody, like, it's not necessarily like a judge that is the arbitrator. I mean, in a sense, a judge is, but I think a judge is like something that's a little bit more than just an arbitrator. So, I don't know.
Well, the judge often you probably find arbitrators who used to be judges, so they're going to be basically thing. It's just an in-home judge. You hire them, bring them to your house, someone you know or like, and then you present the case or whatever, and then they'll make a decision.
So it sounds like your example fits really well then for both of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, so here's the definition of an arbitration is it's a form of alternative dispute resolution in which the parties work out the disputed issue without going to court. An impartial third party known as an arbitrator is chosen by the parties to listen to their case and make a decision. So both of these options are, especially arbitration, it's a good way to avoid court fees, the lengthy court process. It can be quicker. Often, I mean, the court may be involved to have a jury and trial and everything like that, um, but in this case, if you can figure it out with an arbitrator, it can save you a lot of time and money in the long run. So it'll often be in interest of both parties to have an arbitrator.
Okay. Does anyone else have an example that they want to share?
Well, as for me, I guess that I have kind of the same example that you have, Alexis, because my example was that two people were arguing about something, and then let's say that, well, let me see, let me go back to my example. So what I wrote was that two roommates were arguing about something, and then the landlord comes in, and then he listens to both of the arguments, and then he may, well, he asked questions to say what would be the best decision. Both of the roommates, they agree that the best option would be that one of them leaves the apartment and change to a different apartment. So it's kind of, so that's kind of the example used, but I guess it's kind of the same thing that you said.
Okay. I think we got the main idea of what each were each thing is. These examples for smaller court cases. Tyler asked, would these examples be for smaller court cases?
Maybe I'm not 100% sure on that. I mean, I guess it depends on both parties. It could be a fairly big case if there's, you know, both, if they're able to get an arbitrator in and he can listen to both the issues or cases and then make a decision. For even a larger case, might be able to. So, but I imagine.
Wouldn't it be something? Sorry, go ahead.
I would say, imagine at some point the bigger the case, more evidence or issues arise, be beneficial to actually take it to a courtroom instead of just hiring like an in-house arbitrator.
What just came to mind was like these big companies that have people make claims against them, and what was it like? I don't know of a specific example, but they, instead of going to court, sometimes they just settle. They decide to just like pay whatever whoever's trying to, or who's like attempting to sue them. So rather than going to court to avoid the court fees and stuff, that might be an option that they would choose to go through instead of going to court and fighting it out with this other person who's trying to sue this big company. They might just choose like a mediator and say, hey, or this person is trying to sue us for such and such claims. We don't want to go to court because of all the fees and all the time it's going to consume and the bad PR it's going to create. So this is what's going to go on, and they come to a decision that way. So I think would make sense. I don't know if that's what companies do, but that would make sense as to what, that they would do, I guess.
No, you could do that. That'd be a good example. You could have a use of a mediator and try avoid an actual lawsuit. They could get in both parties and have a mediator there to, try to figure out exactly what's up. So
I liked your examples, though, Michael. I think your examples show what the actual definition of, well, not necessarily the actual definition, but the definition that we're looking for this class. I think your examples cover those definitions. Because, like, anyone can be a mediator, like a landlord or a mom, but the official definition of a mediator is someone who has experience and who has that law degree.
Yeah. Did that answer your question okay, Tyler? I'm not 100% sure on um, for larger court cases or smaller, if there's like a, or what, but I imagine for the case, they'd start looking at like, actual courtroom options. Sweet. For the,
So it's
oh, go ahead.
sorry, I'm just typing it up as we're going along. What examples are we gonna? Did we decide on using? Does anybody have any yays or nays or partial to certain examples or not?
I think for the mediation, the example of like husband and wife getting divorced and needing a mediator to basically, I can't even talk, sorry, but need a mediator there to facilitate the conversation between both parties is an easy, good example for like anyone can understand.
Okay. All right. So this assignment, we need to come up with one example. I think it's supposed to be used in an exam question. I guess we're supposed to come up with an exam question. So is there a way that we could like combine the examples into like being able to like show the difference between a mediator and a arbitrator? I guess I'm not entirely sure that maybe I don't understand the assignment clearly.
Yeah, I think that it would be better where you're telling us that, for example, we can come up with one example that we already said. We need to write down what's the difference between arbitrator and mediator. But I think, yeah, that we can use one of our examples. Also, I was looking right here. There is information that I found that is very interesting. We can use this information to like try to do a comparison between arbitrator and mediator. For example, I see right here that for the arbitrator is given power to decide or to come up with a final decision. But for mediator, it has not power to decide. The settlement only is for the parties until they agree, both sides. So arbitrators control the outcome, and parties, when mediator is involved, the parties control the outcome. But yeah, I think that it would be awesome if we can write down an example that we already said. But yeah, I think that we can use an example to clarify the both arbitrator and mediator. So what example do you think that could be better to write down in our paper? I think Michael's example sounds good.
For the arbitrator.
Yeah. So I was, yeah,
Okay.
sorry.
I was say for arbitrator, you could think of that like a common one is I guess intellectual property rights between like business partners or different businesses, or even just um, claims by business partners of ownership of a company. It could be all sorts of different things for that one, where they both have their case and an arbitrator have to make the ultimate decision.
So could we take your arbitrator example and your husband and wife mediator example and combine them two? Like, so let's say that the husband and wife are getting divorced. They choose to go with a mediator to decide who gets what and where goes, who gets what expenses. However, they can't come to an agreement, and so they desire to hire an arbitrator to make the decision for them. Would that work?
Yeah, you could do that. Yeah, I'd be good, Tyler. I think it's a good idea. Perfect. So you're saying for the example, we'd say mediation, couple hires a mediator to try to come to a decision or to help facilitate the conversation and mediate both parties, but then they can't come to a decision, so they ultimately hire an arbitrator to make the final decision for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm good with that one.
Okay. Okay, so this is what I have typed up. It says a husband and wife are getting divorced. They hire a mediator to help them come to a civil agreement and to facilitate the conversation to be able to divide the assets between the two. However, they are not able to come to an agreement, so they then hire an arbitrator to make the decision for them.
Yeah, good example.
Okay. And then
So in what we could do for the quiz question is have something like that, but then take out the mediator and the arbitrator out of it, and then like Tyler's saying, we could use the quiz question, give the background to it, and then like the question would be basically in this example, who's the arbitrator or who's the mediator and who's the arbitrator.
okay, I like that. Okay.
Or something say, or we could do something where we could give both like almost definitions, like couple meets together, has a third party come and facilitate the meeting, and then give the other example of the arbitrator coming in. You could say which one's arbitration, which one's mediation. I don't know, something like that.
Okay.
Whatever you guys think.
Okay, so this is the quiz question. Well, hang on. Which okay, so okay, so this is what I have here. Now, this is the question. A husband and wife are getting divorced. They meet with someone who will help them come to a civil agreement and who helps facilitate the conversation. This person is to help the couple decide how to divide their assets. However, the couple is unable to come to an agreement. The couple then decides to hire someone to make the decision for them. Which person is the mediator and which is the arbitrator?
Love it. Perfect.
So, yeah, I was thinking about that same thing, Tyler. Do we want to like name them like just person A and person B, or do we want to name them like Joe or Smithy? I think maybe for an exam it might be better with person A and person B. Joe and John, that works. Does anybody have any objections?
Seems good.
No, yeah, you could be like, they hired John Smith, who, whatever, and then they hired Joe Brown, and anyway, and you can say exactly kind of what you're saying. John Smith is the mediator, Joe Brown is the arbitrator.
Okay. Joe Brown. Okay. They hire John Smith, who will help them come to a civil agreement. John is to help the couple decide how to divide their assets. The couple then decides to hire Joe Brown to make the decision for them. Yay, nay?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, sounds good.
John Smith is the mediator. Joe Brown is the arbitrator. Okay. So it asks for. Sorry, go ahead.
yeah, so they're gonna yeah, as I say, they have the correct answer feedback, then they have 3 wrong answers. So we could do something like for the correct answer feedback or correct answer, it would be so and so is the John Smith's the mediator and Joe Brand's the arbitrator, and then
Mhm.
it would be based on definition, right? You
The
could
feedback could be the definitions.
yeah, but the wrong answer one, you could have say you could have it flipped. You could have it say Joe Brown is the mediator and John Smith is arbitrator, and then the feedback be like see definition and correct answer, or just say it's the opposite. And correct wrong answer too, we could do like John Brown and John Brown and or whoever their names are both the mediators, and then for wrong answer 3 say the other one they're both arbitrators or something.
Okay.
I don't know if that makes sense, or something simple like that.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe throw the wife or the husband in as one of the arbitrators as the mediator. But I like how you're saying that to to say that they're both arbitrators or both mediators, because then it kind of, I think it throws them more for a loop. They really have to know what an arbitrator and what a mediator really is. Because obviously the one, if it says like the husband or a wife is an arbitrator, obviously that's not, you know, they're not obviously one. Okay. Okay. Okay, so for the feedback, I was just gonna copy and paste the correct answer feedback down for the first wrong answer feedback, because the correct answer is obviously John Smith is the mediator and Joe Brown is the arbitrator. The answer feedback was just gonna be the definition of a mediator and an arbitrator. It says a mediator is someone with a license/degree hired to help facilitate conversation and help the disagreeing parties come to a peaceful decision, whereas an arbitrator is someone with a license/degree hired to make the decision for the disagreeing parties. Do you guys think that it'd be okay if I just copied that same what do you call it, same definition for the wrong answer feedback?
I think it's okay.
I mean, I'm fine. I can type up another, I guess, I don't know. I'm not sure what you would want to type up for that, though. Okay.
Well, I was gonna say you could almost make the correct answer feedback the same for all the wrong answers feedback.
Okay.
Because it's going to be apply, right? Because we're going to say the correct answer feedback is, correct. Like, here's the definite or correct. So and so is the mediator. So and so is the arbitrator. Because here's the definition of each. And then for the wrong answers for all these, it'd be like wrong. So and so's the mediator, so and so's the arbitrator. Here's the brief definition, right? You could just kind of copy and paste that into those sections, I think.
Yeah.
It's gonna be the same feedback, I think, for all three. Whether they pick one of the other answers.
All right. Well, does anyone have any last, I guess, changes to the questions at all? Or answers? Or any of the above?
No, I think they're pretty good.
Okay. Is there anything else that we need to go over? Or anything else we need to do?
Not that I know of. I think it's just going through this. And filling it out.
Okay, well, on the assignment, I do need to copy and paste the link to our meeting. I guess, are we supposed to post it on YouTube?
I'm not sure on that one.
Because I don't know what HOA stands for other than homeowners association.
It just
I'm
sounds
pretty
funny.
sure that's not what it stands for.
Google Hangouts or something like that, but we could just post the Zoom link, and I think that should be fine. So
Okay.
I can send that to you here. I'm going to stop the recording. We're all good, and then once it's all done, then I'll email it to the group, the recording that you can put in there.
Okay. Do you want me to send or share this with you guys before I turn it in, or?
I'm indifferent.
Anyone else? Oh, that's a lot of responsibility.
Yeah, like exactly.
Yeah, we talked about it. It should be good to go, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good
You can
then.
go ahead and send it to us anyway, but it should be fine.
Okay. I'll copy and paste the link and then I'll send it to you guys and then I'll just go ahead and turn it in. And then if you guys have any like suggestions or anything saying, hey, we should do this differently, we'll just make sure to take that into account for next time.
Okay.